Yeah. Okay, students. So I forgot to mention one thing yesterday. Okay, so it was asked to us that we should give the tentative dates for the quizzes and whatever components are remaining. So for us it is very simple. There are not many components that we write. So this is what I have submitted to I had to submit it somewhere to your class committee people. So I have submitted to them yesterday. So the same thing I have uploaded just now in Teams as well. So these are the dates, important dates. Okay. So we have planned to have quiz 2 on 27th of October. Okay. This is just before Deepavali vacations. Okay. So that November 1st onwards, some 4 to 5 days, there are the Deepavali holidays. So before that, this is the last Wednesday before that. Okay. 27th October. This is a Wednesday. So whatever we cover till probably 1 week, I mean, except Monday, Tuesday, whatever we cover, we will keep in the quiz. That's the plan. Okay. So you can see in the syllabus also. So this plan has everything. It has syllabus. It has everything. If you see, it has syllabus. It has CO mappings and the lecture plan as well. Okay. So we will be able to finish, I guess. Okay. So 27th October, we are going to keep it. And then quiz 3, that will consist of the entire syllabus, and you need not put any request for that if someone has missed. And all of you must attend this because it may improve marks, right? So this is again 10 marks, and you know that best two we are going to take out of these 3 quizzes. So that we are going to keep on 17th November. Again, 17th November is the last, that week is the last working week for us. So we are keeping it at the end. Again, 17th November is a Wednesday. So we are keeping it towards the end. I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe I forgot, so many things. Just before your class, I had a digital design class for third semester as well. I totally forgot. I think it is the last working week. Quiz 3 we are going to keep. Okay. Rest other things are known. This is the component which is already done. This is about midterm exam. We had to give. When did we did do midterm exam? So only this. So from our side, only Q2 is remaining and Q3 is remaining. Everybody should do it. This because we are going to take best 2 out of 3. If someone has already scored 10 on quiz 1 and quiz 2, that person need not write. Otherwise, you must try writing. Okay, so that was the plan, students, and you can go through the syllabus. That
Ma'am,
is fine. Yeah,
what about T2, ma'am? Like,
T2 is not there, na? T2
no,
is not
if
there. There is
someone is
only.
missed the exam, then they will be writing, no, ma'am. That's it will won't be mentioned in the details. Like
Pardon me.
if
Acha
someone has,
T3. You are saying T3. I mean, okay, if someone has missed a first midterm for that.
yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, yes. In your calendar, it was mentioned that T3. So actually, this is how it is happening. Yesterday only I was checking. So I think from 18th November, T3 is starting. And it is still called as T3. Yeah, yeah. Now good that you told. I remember in the calendar I had seen that from 18th November, some 3 days they have given, 3 or 4 days. From 18th November, T3 is starting. Like that it was given. So that will happen. That is only one student in our class. So we will do that. So it's you can acha, you are saying if someone has missed, so there is no concept of missing the quiz because we are anyways taking best 2 quizzes out of 3. Okay, so you must not miss the quiz. Okay, and any AUMS problems, any AUMS issues are done here itself. This is what was decided in the class committee meeting. So
Ma'am,
probably no.
this Q3 is for all the subjects, or is it like this subject only? Because generally Q1, Q2 only happen, and Q3 will be written only by the ones who missed one of the quizzes, ma'am.
Acha, okay, so that depends on teacher to teacher, but I would want everybody to write. Okay, so this is what I have already discussed in class committee meeting, that I will give a chance to everybody. So so if that's what I said, no, if you have already scored 10 on Q1, Q2, you need not write Q3. Okay, so generally it should happen in every subject. Why? Because otherwise we should have 3 quizzes as per the plan, as per our as per the guidelines. There should be Q1, Q2, Q3, 6.66, 6.66, and 6.68. Right? That's what should happen. But thinking that many of you are writing placements and you may be unavailable for writing the quiz. This was proposed during class committee meeting that all the subjects are having 2 quizzes. There itself, I had told that I will be conducting 3 quizzes and I will give a chance to everybody. I will be taking best 2 out of 3. As far as I remember, every subject said this. Now I really don't know how the teachers are. Teachers can decide. Every teacher can decide on their own. So 2 quizzes were decided. So I am deciding that I will be conducting 3 quizzes. Quiz 3 will be for everybody, and it will consist of the entire syllabus. That also I have mentioned in the class committee meeting. Okay, right? So it's just a chance for everybody and to accommodate everybody. So if you are leaving, missing any quiz, any chance, it is fine. So the idea is you must write all the three quizzes. Okay. Fine, students?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So that is what, this method I actually adopted from the time I started taking the AI course, that I take for AI engineering. I take first semester and second semester, and there is nothing called as periodical test 1, or there is nothing called as end semester exam. So they have many, 10 internal components. So it is not possible for all the students to write all the things. They must have to have 5 quizzes. So I started from there. I conduct 6 quizzes for them, so that 1 quiz is for anyways for one or the other student. There will be some AUMS issues, and it's really difficult to figure it out. Okay, so that works well. So generally it does not happen that there will be issues with the same student in more than one quizzes. So to cover up everything, that is the plan. Okay, so that is already uploaded, students. So we will discuss today about 2 things. One, we are talking about the connectedness, and then we will also talk about the shortest path in today's class. So we were here, we were discussing about connectedness, and we said that if a undirected graph is given, then we want to find out that whether we can reach from each node to another node or not. So we had just discussed that we can run BFS or DFS visit, and we are going to mark the nodes as we visit them. If we are able to visit all the nodes, means fine, the graph is connected. Otherwise, graph is not connected. Fine, that is fine. So running time is same as, because we are running BFS or DFS, so OV plus E. Then we were talking about strongly connected. So we said that given a directed graph, we want to know whether we can reach any node V from any other node U, right? So I had asked, so we were discussing ideas. So you can give an idea, student, if you thought about it, what we can do. Probably you would have done this using the reverse of a graph, right? So if it's a directed graph, so very simple, concept is very simple. It's a directed graph. I am going to make reverse of the graph. How do I make reverse of the graph? We keep the vertices as it is and we change the direction of the edges, right? Now, if you want to check whether the graph is connected or not, that is what we use the term as strongly connected. So you need to check both the ways, right? I mean, in initial graph G, you should check whether it is strongly connected or not. How we can check? We can apply DFS or BFS, right? So we can apply DFS or BFS in directed graph as well, right? But if we are able to reach each node, we cannot assure that it's a strongly connected graph. So you apply in the original graph, we are going to apply DFS or BFS. Then next step would be, we will make reverse of the graph, and then again we apply DFS or BFS, right? If we are able to reach all the nodes in G also and in the reverse of the graph also, then we can say that the graph is strongly connected. I hope there is no doubt in this concept, right? So this is what we do. Okay, so before that, because we are going to discuss that concept, we discuss a term that is known as transpose of a graph. So I told you reverse of a graph. Sorry, it is maybe in theoretical language we use the term transpose of a graph. Okay, reversing of the it's not reversing of the graph. For making transpose of the graph, we reverse the direction of the edges. Okay, so the definition is, given a graph G, we can calculate the transpose of the graph, which we represent as G, and we mark as a R on top of it by reversing the direction of all the edges. So if this graph is given to me, wherein we have an edge A to B, D to B, E to D, and C to D, I make a reverse of it by just changing the edges. So now I have an edge B to A, I have an edge B to D, A to D, D to E, and D to C. So we'll quickly see the algorithm. Very simple. So now we want to, before that, yeah.
Ma'am, previously you said about the strongly connected graph in like directed graph, no ma'am? 1 minute.
Yes. See the, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was asking like, well, I couldn't relate to the logic. You were telling like we perform DFS or BFS in the original graph and DFS or BFS in the reverse graph, and then what? Like.
Okay, fine. Thank you for asking this question. Yeah.
I was thinking like instead of doing like any traversal, there are all path algorithms, ma'am. Something like all
Yes.
algorithms.
But how do you do that? Shortest path, all. So for that also you have to apply. So you basically find out the shortest path from one node to all other nodes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Yeah.
All pair.
All pair shortest path. So what will happen with that? All pair shortest path algorithms will find out the shortest path from each node to every other node.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Some path will be there, and then we can tell like all the nodes are connected.
So,
Like
but why do you want to calculate the shortest path from one node to other node?
we need
It's
not
an extra work.
we can just traverse just like how we do in the I don't remember actually like how the algorithm implementation instead of
Yeah.
calculating we
Ma'am,
can
Yes.
ma'am, I think Priya is trying to say that, like, we try a all pair shortest path algorithm. We start with initial assumption as infinity, the path to from A to B as infinity, and then
Okay.
by the end of the complete checking, if there are points which are still infinity, that means that it is not possible to
Okay.
reach from this point to this point. So we can say that it's not strongly
Yeah.
connected. Otherwise,
Understood. Yeah.
yes ma'am I
Fine.
just
Yeah.
proved
That.
it.
Yeah. So
DFS.
that could be one way. Yeah. That could be one way. We will discuss what will be the complexity using that. Okay. When we discuss about all pair shortest path, okay, that time we will discuss what will be the complexity for that, and accordingly we will decide. Fine, we can do that. You are saying that, I understood. You are saying that if we apply all pair shortest path, and for some nodes, if the distance is not within finite range, if it is infinite, that means that node is not reachable. So basically you are saying that for applying whether a node is reachable or not, you are using all pair shortest path, right? Fine, that can also be one way, but what we are saying is we can actually use BFS or DFS, okay, to see whether we visited all the nodes or not. Fine, so we will see that when we discuss all pair shortest path, we will
Yes,
see. Okay,
that
we will
part
see that.
we are going to discuss later. You can come back again because DFS or BFS will just tell us whether all the nodes are reachable or not. It won't be telling whether we can connect every node to every another node. So you mentioned that to tackle that issue, we will be performing BFS or DFS in the reverse of the graph, I guess. So yeah,
Yes,
that
yes,
logic I didn't understand. I was
yes.
thinking, trying
No, no. So
to.
that's what we are saying that, see, suppose, so when we are talking, so if the graph is undirected, okay, and I apply BFS or DFS, I know that whether the graph is connected or not, right? So whenever you visit a node, you mark that node as visited. In DFS and BFS, you mark that node as visited. At the end, you see that whether all the vertices have been visited or not. If you have visited all the vertices, means it is connected. And if it's a undirected graph, if you know that if A is connected to B, that means B is also connected to A. So we are done. But if it is, so that's what we are saying. If it is a directed graph, okay, and then again if you apply DFS or BFS, fine, good enough. So it will, and if you mark the nodes that whether it is visited or not, and at the end you check whether all the vertices have been visited or not, fine. So you will say that in graph G, in the given direction, even if the graph is directed graph, you are able to reach, right? But what we are trying to say is, are we able to reach from each node to every other node? So in a directed graph, if I am able to reach from A to B, not necessarily that I am reaching from B to A as well. Okay. So what we do is, in that case, we take the transpose of the graph, and then again
Yes.
we apply, again we apply DFS or BFS. Yeah.
I was taking one diagram. The same, whatever you told is put in Geeks for Geeks, say, since its name is Kosaraja's algorithm, like
Okay.
reversing the graph and then forming DFS
Okay.
or BFS.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Okay. Fine. Fine. Okay. Okay. So that's what we do here. So this is the concept of transposing a graph. So now the next question is, okay, what is the running time to calculate the transpose of the graph? That is important, because whatever we are doing, that is leading to a cost. That will only tell me whether I should use this algorithm or I should use any other algorithm, for example, all pair shortest path or not, right? So what is the running time to calculate the transpose of a graph? I have to visit all the edges, right? And all the vertices, right? So the running time is going to be OV plus E for calculating transpose of a graph, right? Then this is the algorithm to check the strongly connected graph or not. This is taken from the book, students. Again, strongly connected G. Here we are talking about a directed graph. So when we talk about undirected graph, we just say connected graph. Okay. When we talk about directed graph, we use the term strongly connected. So there are two passes. There are two passes. The first three line is called as the first pass. So what it says is, given run DFS or BFS from some node U. You can pick any node. Okay. Run DFS or BFS from some node U. And if not all nodes are visited, you just return false. Then you need not go to the second pass, right? So it may be happening that the directed graph, the given graph itself is not the connected graph. That is, you are not able to reach from one node to any other node. From some node U, if not all nodes are visited, you return false. Then what you do, you create, if you are not returning, if a false is not returned from here, you create a graph GR by reversing all edge directions, and then you run DFS or BFS on the transpose of the graph from node U. Okay. If not all nodes are visited, right, you kept the same U. Okay. And if not all nodes are visited, you are going to return false. Otherwise, you are going to return true. Okay. So we calculate the complexity, right? So the meaning is, what do we know after the first pass? This is what we know, that starting at U, we can reach every node. Okay. And what do we know after the second pass? We know that we are able to reach to U from every other node, because it is a transpose of the graph, where we have reverse all the edges that has been given. Okay. So this is some theory that I told. Same thing. Let's talk about the runtime. So runtime, if you say run DFS or BFS from some node U, OV plus E. If not all nodes are visited, return false. Right? If not all nodes are visited, you need to return. So, you need not check it for all the nodes. It's a directed graph. Okay. And I want to check the connectedness. So I can start from any of the node. If it's a connected graph from any of the node, I should be able to visit all the vertices. So it is not that I have to try this for all the nodes. No, with one node itself, it is fine. Okay, so the complexity is OV plus E. And for this part, if not all nodes are visited, return false, OV. Then creating a graph is again OV plus E. Then running DFS or BFS, again OV plus E. Again for this part, it is OV, right? So the final complexity that we are going to get to check whether it is strongly connected or not is going to be OV plus E. Okay, so when we discuss all pair shortest path, we will discuss the complexity that time, and then we can see which one will be the better algorithm to select, or if both the algorithms are of same complexity. Okay, so or all pair shortest path, if it is having OV square kind of complexity or something, we will see that. Okay, so now the next, so this is just about checking the connectedness. Okay, so that's a small topic that we have done. Now we are talking about detecting cycles. It's a very interesting and a small topic. Okay, what we are saying is we are trying to detect the cycles, whether there is a cycle or not in a given graph. Okay, so if it's an undirected graph, okay, if it's an undirected graph, so how can I detect a cycle? You apply BFS or DFS, right? And if you reach a node that you have already seen, right, then we have found a cycle that we have seen also, right? When we perform DFS or BFS, we actually see whether a node is visited or not. If it is already visited, we don't, in the graph, when we apply DFS or BFS for a graph, if a node is already visited, we don't visit it again, right? Because we make visited as true or false, like that. Initially, we will say everything is not visited, and as we keep on visiting, we make mark visited as 1, right? So it's very simple. So if you are reaching a node and you are seeing that already visited is 1, that means there is a cycle. Good enough, right? So again, you can use BFS or DFS to detect a cycle. Now we are talking about the directed graph. Okay, so we know we need to be careful, because we know, though it looks like a cycle, there is no cycle. A, B, and D. It's not a cycle, right? D to A to B, but there is no H, that is B to D. Now, how can we apply? How can we find out whether there is a cycle or not in a directed graph? Okay, will your directly BFS or DFS will work, or that will be difficult, or you may have to make some twist in that to make it, to see whether it's a directed graph or not, to whether the graph has a cycle or not. Or you have learned something that you can use. You have learned something recently that you can use to see whether there is a cycle or not. Okay, so so you remember, students, yesterday we discussed, actually that might create confusion when you study it separately, probably. Okay, so you remember, before discussing topological sort, we discussed a topic called as DAG, directed acyclic graph, right?
Yes,
Right. So yesterday we discussed a topic, directed acyclic graph, where we just said that directed acyclic graph is a directed graph which does not have a cycle. Okay, and just after that we started learning topological sort. Okay, so actually there is no connection. Okay, so topological sort is, we apply topological sort to the problems wherein one event is dependent on any other event. So what topological sort gives me is, it tells me the order in which the event should be executed, for example, right? So that's what we do. What do we achieve after topological sort is, I achieve that event A, B should happen first, and then C, D should take place. Like that, I get an order based on the dependency between the events. Okay, so generally what happens, the topological sort is applied when you have a DAG kind of a structure. When you have a DAG kind of a structure, means your graph is not your graph is an acyclic graph. Okay, so let me just go back there just to tell one concept, students. It is like this. Let me go back to that picture. Yeah, so this was the original example. Okay, so now if you see this example, there is no cycle. Okay, right, there is no cycle. So the meaning of saying that there is no cycle means it's very simple. You know, if you are saying there is no cycle means there is no deadlock kind of a thing, right? You know when why the deadlock happens, right? You know, in operating system you have learned the deadlock happens if A is depending on B, B is depending on C, and further, you know, C is depending on A. You get a cycle, right? So there is a cycle of dependency, so you are not able to proceed. And then you know that for resolving the deadlock, you have to break that cycle, right? So if there is a cycle of dependency, you have to break that cycle some way. Maybe you give some priority or something. There has to be some way to break the deadlock or to break the cycle. So something similar concept is here. Okay, so we just discussed topological sort after DAX. The concept was that topological sort will be performing best. They will be doing well. Generally, we will apply topological sort where there is no cycle. Okay, if there is a cycle, then how do I proceed with? Can I proceed with topological sort or not? Okay, if there is a cycle, then can I proceed with topological sort or not? I can proceed with topological sort. Topological sort algorithm, if you see, it never says that you can apply it only to a DAG. Did it say? No. Topological sort said like this: find a node V with no incoming edges, delete V from G, delete, like that. Similar is your topological sort too, right? So topological sort too also never told you that the given graph should be DAG. But what we are saying, if it is a DAG, topological sort will perform best. Now, to again say the point, let us see if it is not a DAG, then what will happen? Okay, so I will just update this figure. Okay, so this is given to you. This is a graph which is a DAG. Can you apply topological sort? If you apply topological sort, very simple, right? What I will do, I will see that. Okay, so the question is, this particular picture is given to me. Okay, A to B and D to B, D to A. It's a simple graph. Okay, and now I am asking that apply the topological sort and tell me. So what is the answer of topological sort? So the answer is, whenever you remove a node, there is a linked list, right? That is created. So the node is added to the linked list. So you basically tell the order. What will be the answer here?
DAB now.
Okay, first you will select D. Yeah, correct.
So it will be the most independent nodes, and then it will be moving towards the dependent ones.
Yeah, so first you will schedule the event D. So once you have scheduled the event D, then you are going to remove DA and DB, right? You are going to remove the edge DA and you will remove the edge DB. So now your graph remaining will be A and A goes to B. So the next independent node is going to be A because B is dependent on A. So next you will take A, and after A is done, your edge AB will be removed. So then what is remaining is B. So you have DAB. So no issue happened because you had a you were applying topological sort in a DAG. Now I just change the question little bit. What I do is I create a cycle. Okay. I actually worked out with the, larger example also, but this is easy to clear and you can create your own larger example and do. Okay. So suppose you have A, B, D. So you make A to B and then you make B to D and then you make D to A. Okay. So what I'm saying is you just change this picture A to B and then you add a node B to D. You remove this edge. D to B you remove. Okay. A to B, B to D and D to A. That means create a cycle. Then what will happen?
Then we won't be having any node with no incoming edges.
Yes.
You won't be able to proceed with the algorithm.
You will not be able to proceed with the algorithm. Okay. So what will happen is, so you will not be able to proceed with the algorithm. Fine. So in order to get a proper example, I created a big graph, right? Wherein what I did, 1 minute, students. बाद में आना आपका अभी 10:30 तक क्लास है, 10:30 के बाद आप आ सकते हो। हाँ हाँ, 10:30 बजे आप आ जाना, वहां पे बहुत डर्टी हो रहा है, वो क्लीन करना। थैंक यू। ओके, ऑल राइट स्टूडेंट, so what we can do is so what I did, students, I took one example wherein one portion has a DAG, okay, one portion has a cycle, another portion of the graph does not have a cycle. That means you have nodes, you have some nodes which are independent. Okay, we can try that out. Okay, we can try that out. It's a big example, and somehow I did not find time to
suppose we have changed the direction of BD, and from D probably we can attach another node E.
Yes.
From E to D there will be a node, no ma'am. But then also will be the confusion. E we will be choosing the first, and then we have to do the topological sorting here, no ma'am. So and again we will be in a fix about to choose.
Yes, so what will happen is at some point of time you will not be able to proceed with the algorithm, so the algorithm will come out because you will not find any node that is an independent, that does not have any incoming edge. Okay, so so this is one way to in the directed graph to find whether there is a cycle or not. You can call topological sort. Okay, and the algorithm is very simple, the rule is very simple. If the length of the list returned, in the previous case we saw that length of the list returned is going to be 0, you could not find any node. Otherwise so this is not said less than or equal to, it is said like this: if the length of the list returned is not equal to mod of v, then a cycle exists. Because you know that if it's a DAG, right, you process each of the vertex one by one, and finally the length of the list returned is going to be equal to v. We know that, right? That's what we do in the example that we did, topological sort, yesterday. So you select each of the nodes. So each of the node keeps on becoming independent one by one, right? And we keep on removing that and we keep on adding that to the linked list. So finally the list that is going to have equal number of nodes, equal number of vertices that we have in the graph. So if it cannot be more, obviously, it will be some less. So we want, rather than saying, that it is not, so that is the best term to say that it is not equal to V. Then we say that there is a cycle. Yes.
Generally, if there is a cycle, then we will be getting V plus 1, ma'am. Like we will be starting with one node, and if there is a cycle, we will be coming back to the same node, no, ma'am. Like V can be increased. The minimum will be the V, and if there is a cycle exists, there the count can be V more than V. Suppose in the DAB itself, we will go from DAB and then D. So the list will be containing 4 instead of 3.
You are saying that you are saying that the list will return more number of nodes. You are saying like that? More number of nodes? You work it out and then see. If the length of the list returned is not equal to V, you are saying it will have more number of nodes.
The very same example, that is fine only, no, ma'am. DAB is there, call topological sort. Firstly, I'm not able to call topological sort on it.
Yeah.
But then the length will be 0, no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I understood. The basically, since there is a cycle, we won't be able to process, no, ma'am. So if like the direction of B and D is reversed, then the length of the nodes will be 0 in this case. So yeah, I understood, ma'am. If there is a separate node E, then the length will be 1. So it will be less than or equals to vertices. Now I understood.
Yes, so it will never go more than V, okay? But it is said like that otherwise, whenever the topological sort will work, it has to be equal to V, because what is done in topological sort, we want to process each of the node.
Yes,
we process each of the node, and each of the node, once there is no dependency, it will be processed and it will be added to the linked list. Okay, so if the length of the list returned is not equal to mod of V, then we say that there is a cycle that exists. Okay, so that is about detecting cycles. That is another small topic. Okay, so now we are coming to shortest path, wherein I don't have to say much. All of you know this. So we will be able to do it in coming 15 minutes. Okay, we are left with 15 minutes. So we'll try to do it. So we are going to talk about, yes?
Ma'am, in the previous discussion, using
Yeah.
if called topological sort, then we'll be stuck in an infinite loop, right? That count to infinity problem will come. Because
Is it?
if condition won't reach 0, so and the stack and the queue also won't be empty. We will only terminate if queue
Topological
becomes empty.
who is referring to, not sort.
You
But then
not
also
no, we are not.
the checking about the incoming edges. No, we won't be going to the loop in the first place, right? Can you go to the topological sort too, ma'am? This
Yeah.
what here
This
we
one,
are.
Okay. If I don't think so. See, we will not be able to go here itself. Now we will not enqueuing anything. So queue will be empty. Okay, so let us say take that example. There was a cycle. Okay, that we said that we are changing the direction. So when we apply here first, active UV belongs to E. So active V becomes active V plus 1. So what happens for all the nodes A, B, and D? What happens? Active V becomes 1. Okay, and then when you go here, for all V belongs to V, if active V is 0, NQS. So we are not going to NQ anything. Right? So because we are not NQing anything, so we will not go here. While not empty S, because S will be empty. For that simple example, A to B, B to D, and D to A. Fine.
if there is a bigger graph and only a part of the graph has cycle means, then we will enter the queue no,
Yeah,
ma'am.
we will. So no, we will enter the queue. Still, we will come out, because what will happen? No, that this condition will not satisfy. While not empty, S will not satisfy. So for that S, you will process. Suppose you are going to enter the independent node, but you will not go to an infinite loop. That you can find that out. Okay, so maybe you take a bigger example with 5 nodes, you work it out, it will work. This is correct. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I'll see.
This,
here.
yeah, you please see that. This is correct. Okay. So now we were going to talk about Dijkstra's algorithm, which you already know. Okay. So what I do is, before discussing anything, okay, here, I will just discuss what is Dijkstra's algorithm. Most of you know, few of you actually used Dijkstra's algorithm in in that midterm problem. You used, some of the students even used Dijkstra's algorithm. So that is the shortest path. What is the shortest path from A to D? Suppose I want to know. Okay, so one way is I apply BFS, breadth first search, and I see that, okay, if I say that visited, and if I mean to say, if there is no weight given here, right? So I will say that A to B, and then I can go from B to D. Fine. Because there is no weight, so we assume it as one hop, or you can assume one distance. So you say that from A to D, I can reach like this. Shortest path, right? And now you know the shortest path is going to be different because there is a weight. So this path is 3 plus 2, 5. This path is 1 plus 1 plus 2. This is 4. I don't think so any other shortest path, right? So fine. So that depends on the weights. I can have two pictures wherein I say these two is the weight is 2. Here I can say the weight is 100. So accordingly, the shortest path will change. Here I will say the shortest path is 2. Here I will say the shortest path is 100 between A to B. So we know that running time depends on the weight. So we are going to consider weights while calculating the running time. Okay, so this is our Dijkstra's algorithm, standard Dijkstra's algorithm. So rather than talking here, I will just go to the working example, and then we will compare it with the BFS algorithm. Okay, so this is our Dijkstra's algorithm. Same thing, that maybe the text is small here. So what we are trying to do is, we have the Dijkstra's algorithm, okay, and we are applying it in this given graph. The objective is, we want to find out the minimum distance, considering minimum distance basically. So basically in Dijkstra's algorithm, what do? We basically find out the minimum distance of all the nodes from a given node, right? The shortest path from, sorry students, there is a call to dismiss. Okay. So basically what we do in Dijkstra's algorithm, we find the shortest path from a node to all other nodes. That's what we do. Okay. From which node, that node has to be given to us. Right? So for example, here we are saying Dijkstra's G, S. So we are applying Dijkstra's algorithm in a given graph. Okay, this, now I will ask that question later, or we will discuss that later, whether the graph has to be directed or undirected graph. As long as it is not given, we are considering it as undirected graph. So an undirected graph G is given to me. Also, they have given me node S. S is the starting node from which I want to find out the distance for all other nodes. That is the objective of Dijkstra's algorithm. Okay, so this is the algorithm and the graph they have given. Here my node S is nothing but node A. We are considering node S as node A. Okay, so first three lines we see. Okay, what we do is for all vertices belongs to V, distance V we make as infinite, and we make previous V is equal to null. Distance V is equal to infinite means we assume that for this node, for all the nodes given here, the distance from the given node is infinite. And how do we reach to that node? What is the previous best node is null, because we do not know anything, right? And what we do is we also have to initialize the distance of S. To say that this is my starting node, we make it as 0. So distance of S we make, it's a vector where we make it as 0. So the first part is this, right? What happened? So this is the first part. So when we apply the first part of the algorithm, this is what happens. So we say that the initial part, distance of all the nodes is infinite, and the previous node is null for all the nodes. Then we come to line number 4 where we say dist S is 0. So this selects my node, which is the starting node. So my starting node is A. So I make distance of this node A as 0. And then what we do is we make a queue, we name it as a queue, and which we say we are going to make a heap of vertex V based on their distance. We are going to make a heap based on the distance, okay? And we name it as Q. Q is a variable here. We are naming it as Q, and we are going to make a heap of a vertices, okay? So this is my heap. And this heap we are making, we will always find the node which is going to have the minimum value. Okay, we are making the heap like that. So A has a distance 0, rest all have the same distance. So does not matter which is the order, B, C, D, E, they are in the same order. All of them have the distance of infinite. Now what we do is we say, so we have made a heap. Now what we say is while not empty Q, we come to line number 6. When this Q, that is the heap, is not empty, heap still has the data. So what we do is, the logic is very simple. We are going to pick the minimum element from this heap, right? And then we are going to change the cost using this algorithm, using this part. Okay, and once we extract, we are going to remove that element from the heap, right? So the algorithm is here very simple. So while not empty Q, so this is what we do: extract min Q. So you are going to extract A, and then then you check for all the edges UV, that is from A, what all edges go, A to B and A to C. And then you compare the distance. The new distance from A to B is 3, which is less than the infinite, right? So you change the distance of B to 3, you change the distance of C to 1, and you also make that the previous node of B will be A, previous node of C will be A, right? That is what we update here, right? So if distance V is greater than distance U plus weight of UV, you make distance V becomes distance U plus weight of UV. And then you do decrease key QV dist V, to say that now the next element that you want to select from the heap is, you are going to change the index. Okay, so you are going to select the next minimum element, and also you have to make previous V becomes U, right? So that is how we apply. So first we select A, right? We select A, so we have to check whether A to B and A to C. So we update the cost. See, we have removed A from the heap. Okay, so we update the cost. of C, we update the cost of C as 1, right? And we update the cost of B as 3, right? So we update the, so in the first we updated the cost of C, so it is 1, B is still infinite. We can do that in any order, but when we see the heap, every time we are going to pick the minimum key. Okay, so then we update B. After C, you know, we have to visit everything, so then we update B, and the cost of B becomes 3, right? So this 2 we changed. C became 1 and B became 3. So the next one that we are going to select will be C, right? So now the next thing we select is as C, C1. So we remove C from the heap, okay? So we have selected C. Now from C, if I want, from C, A is connected, B is connected, and E is connected. So when we go back to A, so now to reach the cost is 1, but the cost of A is already 0. So we are not going to change it. But for B, the cost will become cost of C plus 1. So for B, the cost will become 2. And for E, the cost will become cost of C, that is 1. Cost of C, that is 1 plus 4. So it will become 5, right? So these changes will happen, right? So B will become 3. B was 3. So now B will become 1 plus 1. B will become 2, right? Similarly, E will become 5, right? E will become 5. So after E has become, this is the current situation, right? Then now the next thing that we select is B. And also we need to update what is the previous node of V, right? So now we make the change. So this is what we get the frontier, that all nodes reachable from starting node within a given distance. So it is like how we are basically, what is the frontier at a particular time, that all nodes which starting from the starting node, you know, this is the minimum distance. So now if you see, you can say that from A, B and C are having the minimum distance at this point of time. So next we are going to select E. If you select E, because how you selected E? Because E has become 3. How E has become 3? E was 5 and B was 2. So now we will be selecting B, right? We will be selecting B. So now when we remove B from here, from heap, so B's cost we will consider as 2. Then we will see B to C. If you go back B to C, the cost will become 3. So you will not consider that. B to D, the cost will become 5. That you will select. And B to E, the cost will become 3. Right? So now when you select B, so this is what is the updated one. So E becomes 3 and D becomes 5. Then you are going to remove E, and accordingly you are going to calculate the cost. Now E to B, if you go back, no change. I mean, the cost will be high. E to C, if you go, the cost will be high. So E to D, if you go, the cost remains same, right? E to D, if you go, the cost is going to be 5, 3 plus 2, but already the cost of D is already, it is set to 5. This is important, students. So at the last stage, we have reached here. The cost of D already given is 5, right? Now I have selected E, right? Now if I go from E to D, the cost becomes 5, but already the cost of D is 5. You see the algorithm. The algorithm says if distance V is greater than this, right? Here it is equal, so you are not going to process this. It matters because you change previous also, no? So it matters, right? So far the previous node for D is B, right? And now if you select E, the previous node of for D will become E, but you have not entered into the algorithm, right? So this is what you get, right? So you have not entered into the algorithm means you are not saying that the previous node of D is E. You did not change it. I hope this is clear, students, right? So this is what you get at the end. So what you do is, you from the node A, you are calculating the cost for every other node, and you also keep a track of what is the previous node of a particular node V. So previous node of V is node U. That's what you do. I will stop here, students. Okay, I will stop here because there are few important things which I simply don't want to jump. Okay, so I will discuss again this last part. Okay, I will discuss again this last part, that why we did not select this ED, and then we will compare it with BFS. Okay, so we stop here. Okay, I don't want to take your time. You have another class, right? So we will discuss this, And yeah, for tomorrow's class, I am not sure, it is minimum spanning tree, I guess. That is what we will be discussing in tomorrow's class. Fine, students. Thank you very much. We continue tomorrow, first hour. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
have to stop. Yeah. Thank you, students.